I was saying, as Stu Kaufman at the Santa Fe Institute highlights, we're living in an age of hyperbolic rates of change where accelerating interactions create new substance. Our social and political dysfunction derives largely from society's discomfort with the unstoppable increasing complexity created by these interactions. Our understanding of science needs to evolve to accommodate this increasing complexity. Next slide, please. Beginning with the Pythagoreans and Plato, coming to grips with nature's and humans' role in it leaned on logic and mathematics to develop theoretical understanding. Rejecting Plato's view that humans could not discern pure forms, Aristotle turned to inductive inference, employing facts based on observations, setting the foundations for our scientific method. The subjects studied by Plato and Aristotle formed the agenda for natural philosophers, the first scientists, through the Renaissance and the Age of Reason, where Isaac Newton and his colleagues viewed mathematics as superior to Scripture by demonstrating God's order, but being less subject to interpretation. Science lived in the XY plane. A vogue of military mathematics at the end of the 18th century led to the saying that a military strategist could not lead a corporal's guard across a ditch without a table of logarithms. One would prefer to lose a battle than win using unscientific methods. Then came the Enlightenment and Immanuel Kant, who, attempting to reconcile science with religion, emphasized the synthesis of theoretical understanding and practical reason involving imagination, intuition, and preconceptions using reflective judgment. As Thomas Kuhn points out, scientific revolution occurs when the z-axis changes preconceptions and the agenda applied to the XY plane. Kant's philosophy affected Prussian military, leading to a new approach to military science where Kriegspiel, the practical experience from war games, became the foundations for military science. The success of the Prussians in their wars with Denmark, Austria, and France led all major militaries to adopt the Prussian military system. Going beyond Newton's and Maxwell's deterministic and the statistical and stochastic indeterminacy of probability theory, war games specifically address strategic and ontological indeterminacy, where the interaction of agents with different objectives shape outcomes, and rules are not rigid. These games became a principal method of military problem solving up to World War II, when operations research techniques introduced a new vogue of military mathematics. Let me introduce a few useful terms. Next slide, please. I found Gert Deru's depiction of these terms in his paper, Knowing and Uncertainty, very useful. While examining ontology, Deru introduces axiology, discourse, as a method of making sense of complex phenomena. Intersubjectivity leads to objectivity and collective sense-making. Next slide, please. This figure synthesizes his thinking. To distinguish justified belief from opinion, one must consider ontological indeterminacy as the circumstances move from order to chaos with increasing degrees of uncertainty, accompanied by the inability to predict, and situations go from simple to highly complex. We move from factual reality to an agreed reality for coping with uncertainty, employing axiology. I note that artificial intelligence is a new vogue of mathematics, currently leaning on statistical geometry and monotonous patterns, but cannot cope with ontological indeterminacy. Operational gaming brings decision makers, next slide, please. Operational gaming brings decision makers or their surrogates with differing interests together in a simulation of anticipated real-world contingency for the purpose of aiding decision-making, planning, or policy formulation. It affords a practice field for the acquirement of skill and experience in the conduct or direction of responses to the contingency, and an experimental or trial ground for the testing of plans. It provides psychological and emotional experiences that contribute to sound decision-making. Next slide, please. Operational games are an exercise in axiology. By synthesizing elements into a whole, factors governing success, what Unier calls relevant features, emerge. They simultaneously master complexity, stimulate creativity, enhance communications, and promote consensus, contributing to a commitment to action. But games, like most forms of analysis, are abductive. They provide only conjectures, which Charles Sanders Peirce calls a hypothesis on probation. One must act upon these conjectures to appreciate their veracity using other forms of critical analysis and experience, using an act, sense, decide, adjust loop. As Taleb tells us, this continuous learning makes otherwise resilient systems anti-fragile. Thank you very much.